like to call this meeting to order. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Second, all in favor? If you would, please rise for the invocation. Lord, we come to you today thankful and grateful for everything you do for us. And as we prepare for school to start back up, protect those that are still traveling and all the staff and students that are getting ready to start their new year. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you please remain standing as we have an opportunity to pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome recognition of guests. Do we have any special guests? I think we have one. No?
They're all special.
All specials. If not, motion to adopt the consent agenda. You have a motion? Second. All in favor? Curriculum and instructions, I guess, is next.
Do we have that, or do we have the board?
Oh, wait a minute. One more. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would like for the board to consider moving the September work session to North Hall High School. And we could, at the time, we would have tours of the new facility. And there's been a lot of renovations. It's a major renovation, much more than just the three-story new construction. At 4:15 and 5 o'clock, we would have a building dedication ribbon cutting, followed by the board meeting in the Learning Commons. We would also, at the end of the board meeting, we would like to do something new with board training. We would like to actually walk and talk through the new building. So Matt can talk to you about why we choose these windows, why we choose this HVAC, why we design the security vegetables this way and such. Really something that we cannot do if we're not on site. And while we're on site at North Hall, we thought it would be a good day to do that. So we would love for you to consider moving the meeting from this location to North Hall High School for September 14th.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
And Aaron and Matt, I think that's a great idea, especially the opportunity to show all the changes we've made in terms of value engineering and efficiency over the last 10 years, because there's examples of almost all of it on that campus. So that's a great opportunity for the board to see and ask questions. So thank you for thinking of that.
I know I was up there a couple weeks ago, and they were working on everything from the vocation wing and cafeteria all the way through the new part. So pretty much the entire building got something. Now we go to curriculum instruction.
Yes, thank you very much. Our first item tonight is the 2027 graduation date proposal. I feel like we just got to graduation. We just finished graduation, and here we are again with putting the dates before you. So Dr. Carter, our secondary director, is coming before you to talk through the draft that we're proposing.
Yes, so what you have before you, I sent out earlier this morning, is this. You'll notice the schedule looks exactly the same as it did last year based on our school calendar. So the Thursday and Friday graduations would take place again during post-planning. Because the way our calendar falls, post-planning ends on a Friday. In the years past, when we haven't had it during post-planning, we usually come back on that Monday and Tuesday, or the Tuesday and Wednesday after Memorial Day, to have our post-planning. Also, if you look at that Wednesday date, that is the last day for testing for underclassmen for final exams. That schedule usually ends at 12:30, and there's usually about 150 students that are left, because we allow those students to check out with permission after those final exams. So we're asking for you to approve this agenda, or graduation dates. Any questions?
Be glad to answer any questions. We could wait until a later date, but people are already making plans for a family coming in, and this is pretty standard the last couple of years. Appreciate Jason putting it together, but be glad to entertain any questions.
One thing just to point out that I think Jason said, but just to reiterate, that we rotate those schools. So we literally
Yes.
just bump them up, and they go to the next time slot so that they don't always have the draw of, if you will, of the time that they have. They might have early morning one year and then rotate to the mid-afternoon the next.
Yeah, to Suzanne's point, Flower Branch High School had the Friday night graduation last year, and you'll see Flower Branch is now on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. So we try to rotate those through so the families have the opportunity to have an evening graduation as it goes through.
Do I have a motion for second? All in favor?
Thank you very much. And Aaron, if we could get that posted on the website as soon as possible, please.
Very good, thank you. Our next item under teaching and learning is the fiscal year 27 CTAE Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment. Our Perkins monies have been approved, and so Rhonda Samples, our Executive Director of CTAE, is going to bring us up to date there and ask for approval for that.
And this is my fault that you're getting this at the last minute. One of the challenges is Perkins sometimes doesn't come in till September. I've even remembered it coming in close to October, and you can't spend any of those CTA funds until you have it approved by your board. School is starting next week. Rhonda, I think you said you got that Friday?
No, I got it this morning.
Got it this morning. I said, well, let's see if the board is, you're going to see there's not much difference in it every year, but sooner we approve it, the sooner we can start spending some of those funds for the boys and girls in those classrooms.
Correct, and it's just a local needs assessment that we do every year. Every 2 years, we have to do more of an update. This happened to be the second year, and so we have to identify a plan for the year, overarching needs. We involve all types of stakeholders, mainly business and industry from the community, to look at pathways that we're offering. Are we trying to stay current? And most importantly, we use a lot of our Perkins dollars to update our equipment labs. And so this must be approved first. Once this is approved, then we can submit a budget, and we'll wait for DOE. I've never known them to approve it this early, and so I got the email this morning. So it's 84 pages if you want some nightly reading for several nights. But it just pretty much summarizes what we're doing in our CTAE programs.
And Rhonda, it's not like this is the major funding source for CTAE. I'm trying to remember, $250,000 for Perkins.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but again, we tap into it, and this is some of the things we're able to do that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll follow your lead. If you'd just soon wait until the next meeting, that's fine. But I would ask you to consider passing it tonight so we can just go ahead and use some of those Perkins funds.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Thank you, Rhonda, and
Thanks.
thank you very much, Board.
Thank you, and I know that you all know this, but our CTAE program in Hall County is the best, and that's due in major part to our leadership of Ms. Samples. So thank you, Rhonda, for all you do. The next item is just an information item. It is time for new employees to return to school, and this is what I told my teaching and learning department. This is my new year, right? Most folks celebrate New Year in January, but my new year starts now, and I get so excited for the start of each school year. So, starting today, in fact, we had new employees report to their schools for their first day of orientation. New employee orientation, of course, is a joint effort between lots of departments. Teaching and learning and HR work in tandem to put this event on. We have a 4-day event starting today, going through Thursday. We're going to take lots of pictures, and at our next meeting, I'd like to share a lot of details about what they did. But just to give you an overview, a high-level overview, they will participate they'll learn about insurance, they'll learn about our values, our mission, they'll learn about our tenets of teaching and learning, what we expect in each lesson. They will also then conclude with a mental health training day. So chock full of what does it mean to be a Hall County employee. We receive rave reviews each year when we ask for feedback for this event, and I'm expecting none other than that because the agenda looks great again this year. We have 103 classified employees and 238 new certified employees for a total of 341 folks that will be joining us tomorrow at Ramsey Conference Center. We will be at Ramsey at Lanier Tech tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we'll transition to the Oaks on Thursday. Anything to add, Dr. Swafford?
Yes, we would love for any of you to join us at any point during the day that you would like. Breakfast starts at 7:30, both Tuesday and Wednesday. So tomorrow morning, the principals will be coming to have breakfast with their new employees. And so that would actually be a really good opportunity if you're so inclined to just kind of walk around and meet some of the new folks. And then we have our agenda starting at 8 a.m. With a couple of, actually 3 direct, straight in a row motivational folks tomorrow. Butch Miller is going to be kicking us off with, to talk about community support. And then we have another speaker who's coming to deliver our keynote, which is going to be about the importance of relationships and how one teacher can change a student's life forever because it's happened in his own life. And then we'll have Mr. Schofield at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, who will be setting forth his vision for the school district so that our new teachers, new employees understand what we value in this district.
Thank you. Any questions for us?
By the way, those new teachers started today. They were at their buildings with their principals, and so we've gone out of our way to welcome them, and I hope they've had wonderful days.
Absolutely. Okay, next, the item 4 is trauma and mental health awareness and core behavioral health skills training. I'm super excited to let you know that this curriculum, which originated out of Hall County, has been adopted by the DBHDD, that's the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, as a requirement for all schools who scored below a 3 on the STAR rating. So that's a pretty big deal, right? So our Hall County curriculum, which I gave you a copy of here, has been adopted by the state and required training, a required 2-hour training for any school and its staff who scored below a 3. So far this summer, over 500 Georgia educators have been trained in 160 school districts on the curriculum that we use as our Tier 2 intervention, and somewhat of a Tier 1 intervention in mental health training. So I think that is a huge feather in our cap as a district, and wanted to bring that to your attention. I put the materials there in front of you if you would like to take a look at what those are trained, what the information in there that has been trained. I wanted to just read, if I could, a little bit out of the beginning that really, I think, sums up what that training is. And again, that training we do with our own folks, and it has been done across the state of Georgia. It is no surprise to any of us in the field of education that school has changed, right? So here is just some quick challenges that we as educators face, and parents, we're partners, right? These are some challenges that we face. Just some statistics that I just couldn't go without reading. 2/3 of the children in the United States experience at least one traumatic event by the age of 16. Approximately 1 in 5 adolescents have a current diagnosed mental or behavioral health condition. Over 40% of high school students express feelings of unrelenting sorrow or hopelessness. In Georgia, nearly 10% of middle and high school students reported hurting themselves deliberately in 2024. And then roughly 20% of high school students say that they have seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. So what this training does is it does 2 things. It gives educators awareness skills. That is a way to notice and interpret when these behaviors happen, right? These are students that are sitting before our teachers every single day. So this training gives them the awareness skills and the response skills so that we can do what we all want to do, and that is to help produce resilient young adults who have academic and skills necessary to thrive at life, which is what we're all about. So I'm super proud of this work. Again, I think this is further evidence that we're on the right path in Hall County. One of my directors, Matt Alexander, I don't think he is in the audience. He just went to a training that we are doing for elementary students, a character education kind of training, and he even was talking about this on a national level and was met with great enthusiasm, even met some folks who had this training there. So again, I just wanted to bring you up to date on this training and what it means, not only to our district, but to our state.
And again, the key is behavioral health, And none of it happens without being underneath the umbrella of building relationships with young people. You want to know what's going on with someone, you want to make a connection. Unless you know that individual, you don't know if something has different, if something has changed, whether that's in duration, whether that's in frequency, or whether that's in severity. So once again, we will continue to push in the Hall County School District the importance of relationships amongst the adults who work in our building, and building those trusted relationships with students. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt, create a culture in which every child has at least one adult that they consider trusted, and good things will happen. And every child deserves to have, hopefully, many trusted adults in their building. So thank you for supporting this for years. This isn't new. We've been doing this since 2020, when we started to realize that the ship was listing, and I just appreciate this board's support.
Thank you. I'm super excited to share with you in the coming weeks one of our trainings that we're going to do for board training this week is this year is whole child training, so that we can share all the different things that we do at Tier 1, 2, and 3 to support our students around these skills. Okay, number 5 on our agenda tonight is LifeWise Academy. If you could please go to lifewise.org. This is a program that we are considering, we're asking for you to consider us to implement at Deal Elementary. So LifeWise will be a partnership between Deal and Airline, will be the supporting community group, where we have 1 hour per week where students are transported to Airline to receive instruction around Bible instruction there at Airline. A few things to take into account. This is completely at Airline, completely community-based. State law does allow this to happen if it's off campus with parent permission, only with parent permission. Ms. Smith at Dill is looking at this to be a program for 5th graders as we try this out in combination with Airline and that community ask. So community-driven, off-campus, 1 hour per week for students who have parent permission. It will be at a time where there's no academics offered, so it will be during their connection or specials time is when this would be offered at no cost to the district, completely parent-driven.
Release time education has gone all the way to the Supreme Court for over 75 years. It is the way it used to always be. I hearken back to the day when we left the agrarian society and moms and dads, aunts and uncles got around the table and said, we're going to need to hire a teacher. And guess what? It was the moms and dads who hired the teacher. It was the moms and dads, the aunts and uncles who told them what they wanted that teacher to teach. And somehow, over the last 75 years, professional educators in many parts of this country have decided they know better than mom and dad. For the 21 years I've been here, this Board of Education doesn't believe that. This is parent requested, parents wanting their children to get something that we don't offer. I support it 100%. This is what public education is supposed to look like. And you all have known about it for a while, but I would appreciate you considering a vote in favor of this partnership with LifeWise at Dual Elementary for a group of 5th graders whose parents request it this year.
Motion. Second. Do I have a second? Any comments? All in favor?
Thank you. Okay, and then moving to our last item under teaching and learning tonight is about our 26-27 Tier 1 focus. So if you could, there we go. All right, so I just wanted to give you again a high-level overview of the focus for this year's teaching and learning. If you'll go to the next slide, this gives a rundown. I also have a poster. Brian gave me a little bit of a hard time about my poster up here. He asked me if I was going back old school, and I said, yes, research shows that we need to start writing and reading and holding things in our hands again. So we have identified 7 vital behaviors in our district. A vital behavior, if you go to the next slide, two more, please. There we are. A vital behavior is a small set of high leverage, repeatable actions that produce significant results. So they are specific, they're repeatable, and they're observable. So we as a district have identified 7 of these vital behaviors that we believe, if they are done with fidelity in every classroom K-12, will produce these significant results. So if you'll now go back to the second slide of the vital behaviors, one more back. Thank you so much. These are the 7 behaviors. I know it's small. What's important is going to be to talk about the one behavior that we're going to focus on this year. We're only going to focus on vital behavior 6 as a requirement for all classrooms. Schools could have determined a second one, but I discourage them from doing so and ask them to walk alongside us as we unpack all of vital behavior 6. If you go to the second slide titled, How Did We Get Here? This gives you a little bit of an idea of how we arrived at these 7 significant behaviors that we believe will create significant results in our students. We started with basically last February. You know, we begin in teaching and learning, living in one year and beginning to plan for the next. So last February, 2026, we started as a teaching and learning team, really diving into the data, asking ourselves, what would push our achievement to the next level? It was a really cool retreat where we had multiple groups working independently, and then when it was time to share and we looked at each other's materials, we were all on the same page, which is super encouraging as the leader to know we all believe the same thing. And what we thought was Tier 1 instruction is what we need to focus on. That is the same behaviors for all classrooms. So we then continued to narrow the focus, bringing in, as you can see on the funnel here, we brought in principals, we brought in APs, we brought in teachers, we examined teacher data. Bright spots are what we call them, the teachers that were getting results. We looked at their behaviors to see what sets them apart. What are they doing that we could emulate in other classrooms? And that is how we came down to the 7 vital behaviors. So if you move 2 more slides, there we go. This is vital behavior 6. This is the one that we're all circling the wagons this year and focusing on. And that behavior is all about discourse strategies. So when I teach a lesson, I use discourse strategies requiring all students to participate in student-to-student academic talk. So we're looking to increase talk in all of our classrooms K-12. Not teacher talk, student talk. I always say whoever's doing the talking is doing the learning. So we're looking to turn down the volume of teacher voice and up the volume of student voice around the content that they are to learn. So that is the focus that we're really working on this year. If you go to the next slide, you'll see a very small example of the at a glance. So this is the at a glance fact sheet, if you will, that we've provided every teacher, every principal around what does vital behavior 6 look like. We've defined it. We've given the research that backs it up. We've given some examples of strategies that would result in academic discourse. We've given some look-fors, what it does look like, what it does not look like. And then a key question that every teacher could ask themselves, which is, did every student today in my classroom have an opportunity to talk, think, and learn with a peer about the content? That is the crux of what we're trying to do. So that's what it is. But if you want it to stick, you've got to assess it, right? You've got to monitor it. So if you go to the next slide, what you see is the district walkthrough instrument. You're seeing the paper copy, but we have converted this into an electronic copy, and we're giving every Hall County employee access to this. We'll be going into classrooms to monitor the implementation of that vital behavior. So basically, we're looking at, were students participating in student-to-student talk, and at what percentage? Those are the two questions that we're asking, and then what are some activities that we saw that are leading to that discourse, and what are some glows and grows as a result of that walkthrough. By the way, our teaching and learning team will be doing what I'm calling tandem walkthroughs, like myself and maybe Dr. Carter would walk through together, so that when we leave that classroom, we can work on inter-rater reliability and make sure that what I think is discourse is what he thinks is discourse, and the percentage matches what we think, so that we can get better at what we expect. The last slide is just the cycle of learning that works everywhere. So if you want something to stick, you have to teach it, you have to assess it, and you have to respond to it. So that's exactly really what I walked through with you. We are teaching it now. We had a behavior launch. I modeled some strategies for academic discourse. We've been working on that from our leadership retreat this summer through our principals meetings. Then we're going to launch that walkthrough instrument where we're going to assess how that went. And then it's going to be up to us to respond. If we have schools and or classrooms or even content areas that aren't doing as well as we want them to, then we have to respond. We reteach, then we reassess, and then we respond, which is why it is that continuous circle. So thank you for listening. I just wanted you to have an idea of what we were working on K-12 in our district this year from a teaching and learning perspective. Any questions for me?
Yeah, what dictates the, like the at-a-glance sheet, the sheet where you're checking off, oh, no, the
The
next
walkthrough?
one, student discourse walkthrough. Yeah, what dictates the timing on that, or
Great question.
through the year, through the entire
Yeah.
year, or what?
Yeah, so we're going to focus on this at least through the first semester and maybe longer, depending on what my assessment looks like, right? So I'm going to be looking at these percentages by school. Principals are going to be looking at them by grade level and by content area. And then we'll determine what our next steps are. I have challenged each of our team members and principals to do what we're calling y'all, if I mess up, y'all correct me here, 5 by 10s. So that means that you're going to go into every week, 5 classrooms at least, and do a 10-minute walkthrough in each of those classrooms. So that sort of gives you the how much and the duration where you're collecting data just on this instrument. So 5 by 10s.
Will they be unannounced?
Yeah, that's my next.
Yes, they will mostly be unannounced. And, you know, it would be a great self-reflection tool also. I'm going to challenge principals to have their teachers self-reflect on this instrument themselves. How did I do? And how can I grow?
I appreciate Suzanne taking advantage of this. What we know from the learning pyramid, it's the inverted pyramid. You get a very well-informed teacher that sits and talks at students for 50 minutes. You may get 10% retention. If you can get individuals to interact with the material, in other words, to be engaged and to talk about it and to massage it and to try some things out and to actually have some activities, you can jump that up to 50, 60%. So I've always been fascinated by people who thought they were great teachers because they had a lot of knowledge and they had relationships with kids. But if people, and this isn't just for kids, by the way, it's for adults too, but if individuals aren't interacting with the material, they're not learning much of it on their best day. So thank you. That was great.
I think that wraps the teaching. Oh, no, it doesn't. I think I have some field trips, right? I got so excited about the vital behaviors, I forgot about the field trips. You have one item I'm asking for approval for. That is the trip there from Davis Middle School. That will happen next April. You've seen that one, so if we could get approval on that one tonight, the other one, we can wait until next meeting.
They want to start fundraising, so it's a pretty vital behavior that we ask you to pass that tonight. So I'd like to make that as a
I have a
recommendation.
motion. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Thank you.
We have an interim financial report for you tonight, so this is for the month of June. It is not the final closed report, but right now we're showing an ending fund balance of around $91.1 million. That's still subject to a little bit of change, depending on the final closing entries that we have to make for different grants and things of that nature. But overall, trending in a good spot. We've collected about just shy of 100% of our revenues, and we're about 1.5% below budget on our expenditures. But if you have any questions, just let me know.
Jonathan, would you compare that ending balance to a year ago with the passage of the local legislation that reset homestead values to the FY '93 value? How much of the board's savings did they spend last year?
Yes, sir. So last year, our ending balance was right around $98.4 million. So we've spent roughly about 7.3 out of that.
$7.3 million, and by the way, that $98 million represents a little under 3 months operating expenses for our school district, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You need approval for that, or?
You need approval for that?
one?
No,
Or
sir.
This is just your interim?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, who's handling the proposed budget? Jonathan?
Jonathan's got it. Done a great job of putting some information together, and that's been updated on the board site, on the board website, Jonathan.
Yes, sir.
I always tell people I don't like a surprise unless it's my birthday, but we did get another surprise from our tax assessors, so I'll let you handle that, Jonathan.
Yes, sir. So we received, this budget has been updated to reflect what we received in the final digest. That came on Friday this past week, or excuse me, not this, it came last Friday. So we've updated this to reflect that. We did get a pleasant surprise in that initially we were looking at roughly a 2.5% based on the preliminary, and right now, based on growth in the county and some additional calculations and things that they've corrected in the final digest, we're looking at about 5.5% growth, which is a fairly good number for us to be at. So this budget has been updated to reflect that. Right now, we are showing a 15.49 mill rate as a placeholder. That has not been finalized. That rate is in there because that rate based
Let's just
on-
stop right there. Not only has it not been finalized, this board will make that decision, but we've got to advertise what would be a maximum millage rate for at least 2 weeks. You can always bring it down. You can't take it up. So keep in mind that the 15.49 is just, as I've talked to each of you individually, appeared to be the limit of where we'd go. So once again, that you certainly know you haven't made any decisions, but you do have to advertise.
And speaking of advertisements, we'll be advertising for a budget hearing on August 10th. That'll be at 6 p.m. And then also 2 additional hearings on August 24th, one at 11:30 a.m. and another at 6 p.m. The 6 p.m. ones will follow our regularly scheduled board meetings for those days. In terms of kind of a difference of what people might see, and again, all of this depends on what your assessed value is on your house, but typically for seniors, of course, those who qualify for the senior exemption will not see any difference, which they should be paying $0 if they qualify. But also, as an example, if you have roughly a $250,000 house, going from $14.99 to 15.49 mils, you'd see about a $50 difference.
Not just about, it would be exactly a $50 increase in taxes. Keep in mind also that the change last year to homestead exemption, that was between a $9 and $11 million hit to the budget. And right around the corner is the November resolution that folks will vote on in terms of lowering the senior exemption from 70 to 66. And we have calculated that'll be an additional, if that passes, another $9 to $12 million next year. So at least this year there wasn't anything new, but just so you can put it all together in the back of your minds. Questions for Jonathan? Jonathan, how about going over real quick again what the date, did you say the 2 dates already for the 3 hearings?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
August 10th at 6 p.m., and then also August 24th at 11:30 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Thank you. Questions for Jonathan? Bless you, Bill.
Sir? I can send one. Okay, yes, sir.
I want a personal invitation, yes. No,
And
I didn't remember, I knew we were having them, I just didn't have the dates on my phone here.
And all that should be on the web. All that should be on the website, and it has been, and it'll continue to be, whether it's the budget adoption calendar or the preliminary budget, so.
Just in general, we've had the local legislation and the state legislation about exemptions and growth requirements. I would imagine that has given the tax assessor's office fits trying to calculate that. But it is concerning that we were working from a, what was that, 2.5 growth? And it almost doubled, or more than doubled. It's a little concerning, and if that passes again in November, which I don't see any reason it wouldn't, we'll have the same kind of situation next year. Trying to get accurate numbers in a timely fashion seems to be something we've had to deal with over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes, sir.
And you'll remember also, Jonathan, be glad to share the numbers with you, that we had said that not only did we have the gift that kept giving of passing the local legislation, you also made the decision to pass the state 581, of which we said that would have very little effect with the strength and the teeth that were in the local legislation. It actually had a little more last year just because we reset to FY23, but as we suspected in the new numbers, the lion's share, almost all of those exemptions are now under the local legislation, and the state exemption really is not much, although it is another factor for the assessor to try to keep up with and to decide which one is better for the homeowner. Spending resolution, Jonathan, I think folks want a paycheck in August, so.
Yes, sir. Before you tonight, we do request action on this, which is we have a continuous spending resolution for the month of August. This would authorize 1/12 of the prior year budget to be used towards budget for August. And that's just because we just got the millage and we're going through the budget, or not the millage, but we just got the final digest and we're going through the budget process now.
So do I have a motion? Second? All in favor? And that'll get us through August.
Yes, sir. As required by law, I think Jonathan's also compiled the quarterly list of school accounts for your review. That doesn't require any action. Jonathan, anything you need to say on that?
No, sir.
Kara's continuing to regularly go through those figures as a former auditor.
Gail Forrester now does that.
Gail's doing it now, okay, thank you. Any questions on those?
Just to clarify what that actually is, that is the school funds where they collect for clubs, sports, any booster club events that run through the school and not through the county office. All right.
All right, let's talk about summer 2026 projects. We are now, 9 days before the start of school, and we're in great shape. It's been an effort. Matt's team, Facilities Construction, our construction management companies, our community subcontractors, our trades and training, our technology, our Bud Group has all made this happen. And when I was at Flower Branch Elementary School today, I saw several spouses pitching in and moving their spouses' stuff also. So it's really been a community effort to get us here. And that's been despite some crazy weather, some rain at the beginning of the year, and then as we all experienced last Friday, just at Flower Branch Elementary School alone, we experienced over 8 inches of rain on a job site. And the folks worked all weekend, and we are back where we need to be. So kudos to those folks. I'd like to point out that everything we're going to talk about today, as far as construction renovations, with the exception of the 3-story at North Hall, is all debt-free, all paid for by SPLOST. So we are thankful to our community for their continuing support of SPLOST, because this would not happen without SPLOST. So we're going to go through, show you some pictures, and entertain any questions that you may have.
Aaron, would you just comment, what you said is I think very accurate in spirit, but a lot of these projects wouldn't have happened had
They
it not
wouldn't.
been for SPLOST, or if they would have happened, they would have had to come out of the general fund. Have you and Matt, I'd asked you all to put a pencil to how many mills that would have translated into in terms of the flooring, the restrooms, all of the renovations, the bleachers?
All the projects, holistically, it's at least 2 mills.
Thank you.
Matt, start us off with elementary, sir.
Sure. So just want to kind of go over this. You have a list down the right-hand side of each of these slides that kind of gives you a little bit more of detail, bullet points. But overall, the elementary schools, what you're seeing here is us finishing out some district-wide initiatives related to intercoms, VoIP phones, and digital road signs at the elementary level. Also, you'll see 2 of the larger projects are related to spot growth that we've experienced at Chicopee Woods and Flower Branch Elementary School. At those 2 locations, we took the 14 classroom modular building from Johnson High School that we're no longer utilizing there, broke that apart and took 7 classrooms apiece to each of those schools. So on this slide, you see a focus on Flower Branch Elementary School. This project had that as part of it, but also had rework of the car rider line and an expansion of the parking lot. We went from 78 spaces to 132 and did a long car rider line around the side of the building that returns to the front doors. And then we provided additional canopies for the student unloading. Also on this slide, you'll see some mention of our VoIP phone upgrades. Some of our older systems also have to have upgrades done to them, so that's what you're seeing here. And the last one listed on here, Myers Elementary School, that was a one-to-one replacement of a walk-in freezer that was failing on us, so we just went in this summer and replaced that.
So while we're going to the next slide, let's talk about VoIP phones. VoIP phones, obviously, they run across the network, so we are decreasing our operating cost. We no longer have as many POTS, plain old telephone system lines, so we're not paying the phone company for lines. We do have to have them for elevators and a few other things. We have to have old school phones.
Fire alarm.
Fire alarm, yes. But beside that, we are not double paying for this service anymore.
So on this slide, is focus on Chicopee Woods Elementary School. Again, this is the other 7 classroom modular building. This photo that you see in the upper left is a typical classroom. That's actually the same type of classroom that you'll see at Flower Branch. It's about 710 square feet to each of those classrooms. And then the right-hand photograph you see there is our connection point to the school. We are doing a similar thing at both of these schools. We have a large covered area with canopies and our ramps and stair systems underneath that, and then we'll fence that off. So that's completely separated. The kids can go from building to building safely during the day. We also have our card reader system on the door to that modular as well. So we have done everything we can do to keep this as secure as we can with it being a separate building.
When he says card reader system, that's the doorbell cameras. So if a student has to go to the nurse or whatever, they can get back in, they can see who is trying to get back in the building, so it's very secure.
At the middle school level, the overview, essentially East Hall and North Hall Middle, we'll spend a little bit more time on those 2. Those were our major projects with re-roof, HVAC replacement, ceilings, and LED lighting throughout. But also at middle school, there's miscellaneous CTA lab upgrades, and teacher laptops, VoIP phone upgrades as well at this level, and then a few CTA labs. So beginning, bottom 2 photos is Cherokee Bluff Middle School. So this is in the bottom of the 3-story building. And basically what we did is took 2 classrooms and renovated those into a construction lab. This is our 5th middle school construction lab. Also, that right-hand bottom photo you see there is our outdoor work area. We do provide a fenced, covered area outside with additional outlets and things so that the kids can work outside gives them a little bit more space to work. Top two photos are of East Hall Middle. Left-hand side is part of the roofing project. We also painted all of our canopies. There's a lot of metal, if you recall, on North and East Middle. All of that has been repainted. And the right-hand side there at the top is a typical classroom at East Hall Middle, which is similar to North Hall Middle. You'll notice in that photograph that we've replaced the flooring. In the initial project scope, that was not part of this project, but we were able to, with the funds that we had within the project, we were able to get, I'm going to call it 2/3, because it's two of the three classroom wings done at each of North and East Middle, and we have a plan to come back later in the year and come back to you all with a request for an additional funding to do the third wing at each of those schools. Next one here is North Hall Middle. You'll see that the faded red is no longer present. That's that right-hand picture. That's the front elevation. We've now painted everything a dark color so that it looks a little bit better. Bottom two photographs are also of North Hall Middle. Bottom left is a new ceiling feature we did as we were doing this, just kind of do something a little special in the main lobby. We did something very similar at East Hall. Likewise at East Hall and North Hall both, the right-hand bottom photo you see there is the chorus room. Did quite a bit of work here that had an exposed structure. It was not acoustically good, didn't look good. So basically went there, put a lot of effort into that space to get that updated at both of those schools.
Brian, you'll appreciate how much better the acoustics are in those chorus rooms. It doesn't bounce around nearly as much.
And Matt said that those 40, 50-year-old buildings look a little better. I would suggest they look like different buildings. You almost can't recognize them, and it's about time, so thank you.
Top left photograph there is an updating of the Family Consumer Science Lab at Davis.
I know you mentioned the fire alarms. I happened to be at East Hall Middle today when they tested theirs. I can say it works pretty well.
Next slide, please.
So quite a bit at the high school level from a kind of an overarching overview. We replaced bleachers at the gymnasiums at North Hall, East Hall, Chastity, and Flowery Branch. Johnson and West Hall were recently replaced, and we'll be doing Cherokee Bluff at a later time. These bleachers were more than 20 years old, and were hard to get parts for. Also did not meet our current standards for ADA as far as aisle widths, handrails, and accessible seating. The new bleachers have the self-storing handrails and what we call recoverable seats for ADA, which basically they can either be utilized. If you don't have anyone who needs that space, you can actually pull those out and get additional seats. Also, in the gymnasiums, we refinished the gym floors at North Hall, East Hall, Chastity, Flowery Branch, and Cherokee Bluff. Johnson and West Hall were done over the past couple of years. We redid their logos, allowed the schools to update their logos utilizing our branding guides and just kind of updating the look of the gyms. So, and we also did some painting in the gyms to kind of refresh everything at one time.
While we're going to the next slide, the old gym bleachers, the old gym, the seat park, has actually been harvested by Trades and Training. It is in storage for us to use on future projects when we need some good hardwood planks.
Also at the high school level, renovated the theaters at the three older schools that do not have performing arts centers, so that's Chastity, Flowery Branch, and Cherokee Bluff. We replaced 20-plus-year-old theater seating, reworked the front of the stage. This work was actually done with student workers through the Trades and Training program, and we provided retractable lighting bar for stage lighting so that they can actually lower the bar, adjust the lights, and raise it back up. Before that, students or teachers, whoever were getting on really tall ladders to do that, setting those ladders up on sloped floors. It was very dangerous, so we were glad we were able to do that for them. Also, at the high school level, we did upgrade the lighting to LED at Johnson and West Hall Stadium, and at Cherokee Bluff Softball. We will be doing East Hall Stadium also, but we have an osprey nest on one of the poles, and we were not able to get that done this summer because we're waiting for that. So we will get that done. And then also at high school level, we have CTA machines and teacher laptops.
What are you going to do if Mr. and Mrs. Osprey decide not to move?
We've been waiting all summer. So we're hoping they go.
You better build them a better place.
Yeah. But the photos that you see here, again, are just indicative of the gymnasium theater work and machines that we've replaced. And lastly, North Hall High School, quite a few slides, or quite a few photos of this. And of course, we'll be out there, as Aaron mentioned, we'll be out there on September 14th to take a closer look at some of the renovation areas. But the big news is the three-story addition, the 51,443 square feet. As you recall, this actually makes the building one building. So for the first time in North Hall's history, or in a long time, it is one building connected across from the gymnasium and PAC over to the old 1955 building as one building. As part of that also, we replaced the 65-plus-year-old practice gym and locker area with new as well. So it provided the school with a new lobby, new main entrance, new administration area, 18 classrooms, and 3 science labs.
And more parking.
And more parking.
One of the things in North Hall that we did is, one of the challenges is there is a student parking lot in North Hall, which is somewhere near Dahlonega. And we just felt it was unreasonable for the students to walk all the way around the front of the school to get to the front office. We've actually installed a second security vestibule in the school that the principal has plans to man for the first few minutes a day. And then we've got one of those doorbell cameras with a remote release in the front office. So the students will buzz in from the outside to the security vestibule. When that door closes, they'll log in, sign in like they normally do, show their ID to the secretary who will buzz them in, so that we've got a security vestibule for the students no matter where you come. And with students coming and going all day long for dual enrollment, it is no longer the in at 8, out at 3 schedule.
And lastly, on these slides, just a mention of the LED lighting at the stadiums at Johnson and West Hall, and a refreshed teacher laptop. So I'm not going to go through all of the detail of North Hall because there's such a long list, and I'm sure I left something out. But when you have time, just kind of read through that list. You'll see, as Aaron mentioned before, the renovation area was pretty extreme this summer.
So you, several times you saw teacher laptops in there. Those were 5-year-old machines that we refreshed for all of the high schools. That's teachers, that's front office, that's SROs, everyone to front office, plus some of the district positions. Go to the next slide, please, for the district-wide, please, Angelica. So there are 3 of these 4, everything beside the computer screen. This is actually Ivester North, and this is funded not by SPLOST, but by the generosity of the Ivester Foundation. So this is healthcare science. You see in the upper left the classroom, the lab in the classroom, and the bottom right is a science lab. We talked earlier, and Matt mentioned about the contributions of trades and training. In addition to absolute real world experience that they're getting, and these students do get paid for their work. Matt figured up today that in the past year, the efforts of trades and training has saved the school district $200,000. So our kids are getting real world experiences, and we're saving money. It's a win-win. What questions can Matt or I answer for you?
I will say that I was recently down in South Georgia touring a hospital there, and these facilities rival what I saw. So, I mean, for our kids to have access to that. But the question I have is, you mentioned earlier that all of the proceeds came from East.
Bo, would you mind speaking in your mic so folks online could hear? Thank you.
All the proceeds came from, yeah. All the proceeds came from East Bloss except for North Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a reason for that, or just?
We were finishing the bond program, essentially, so that's the reason. That's a longer project. But any of the projects that that came about as summer projects for all East Boston. Bond program closed last June.
And we're
And-
actually, the World Language Academy Elementary School that's being built right now is 100% SPOS funded. No bond funding in that.
And Bo, as you know better than almost anyone, that even when we say bond, the majority of that is being paid back with East Blos funds, so it's kind of a juxtaposition of terms, but
And if I can clarify, some of the intercoms and some of the phones were paid for as allowable by state security grants also.
great report, gentlemen. It's exciting. Matt, you're the expert, but I think that 200,000 from what I've seen, I check in on the trades and training kids all the time because it's so fascinating. Supply and demand, contractors know in the summer, there's a 2-month period where every school system needs 1,000 things done, and the price tends to elevate significantly. It's amazing what your crews of students have been able to pull off with their master teacher. I just continue to believe our kids can do absolutely anything with high expectations and high support, and these kids are proving it, so thank you.
The other part of that is those students in the trades and training, when they leave us, they can go straight to work.
They're all being offered jobs all the time while they're still working, and so they can, and a
So
lot of them are going on to trades and training type post-secondary and working some at the same time, so they've got experience, they'll get their education, it'll be debt-free, and it's just a great program for everybody involved.
Yeah, just a word of appreciation. I know those are hard to come by these days. But these two guys, I know it seems like a couple of weeks, but it's been a little over 2 years, when you guys called me up, said, we got to catch you up on, since I was coming back in. And they took me through, I guess at that time, it was 35 schools, I don't know. And took a big chunk of time. But the detail, which these guys understood and knew what to do, they weren't having to have their notes out and read everything. They were so well aware of what was going on at each school and mapped out, and all that they had on the board, just their working board. I was overwhelmed with it, but the consistency in that organization, that how they work is just is the best I've ever seen it, and I appreciate that.
Appreciate you saying that, Brian. As a matter of fact, this old elephant was looking at the North Hall Middle and East Hall Middle projects probably 4 to 5 weeks ago, thinking this may be the first time we don't get something done. We got a long way to go. And not only did you get it done, you did those additional floorings, 2/3. It was just, I don't have any words. It's just amazing what you've accomplished, and so thank you all for what you've done.
All right, personnel.
You've got the personnel action items before you. I sent those out on Friday.
Dr. Swafford, you've changed. You were in jeans and getting the NEO all ready to go today. I mean, she looked exhausted when she got back here about an hour ago, and she said, Suzanne's getting me a coffee. I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
We really have been working, and y'all, we have an incredible group of student workers that help us every year at new employee orientation, and they show up at noon on the day before our new employees report for the first time to Lanier Tech. And they work so hard, and it was exhausting for this old lady to keep up with them today. So, but they really have done a fantastic job today. I'm really happy with the way the place looks. Can't wait to see those new teachers tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. But you've got the personnel packet in front of you, and if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Any questions? Are you ready to vote? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? All in favor?
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Dr. Swafford. We'll see you in the morning.
All right. Time for citizens' input. Susan?
Good, okay. I never know where to hit this thing. Sorry.
You just turned it off.
Okay. Okay, I'm not going to touch it. Okay, a few things for the board. On July 13th, during the board meeting, the board adopted a preliminary budget. I think you should probably go back on that one because in the section 20-2-167.1, you would be doing 2 public meetings about the budget in 2 different weeks. All that's good. It was on the agenda for that. But it also says that you must do those before adopting any budget, and that would include a preliminary budget, in my opinion. Second thing, under Georgia law, a school district's single reserve fund or account balance is capped at a maximum of 15% for the year's total budget. This is coming from section 20-2-167. Now, when we're looking at the budget that was proposed before the edits for fiscal year 27, if you started with the ending fund balance of 77.7 million and you looked at the expenditures for that year, you are actually holding about 20% of the in reserve. If you look at the beginning balance, it's around 22.9%. So I would offer maybe go back and look at what the rule is for the 15% and see if you're actually following it. It does say that the districts can use their reserves to cover shortfalls for property tax revenue and to avoid raising property taxes amid voter resistance. That's coming from the Georgia Recorder. So it also says there's a current trend where after years of rapid spending growth, many districts are now dipping into their reserves to avoid cuts. While enrollment has fallen, as it has in Hall County, districts have added the equivalent, and this is around the whole state, 18,000 full-time employees. So it's something to look at and think about. Another thing is I went back into the audits for Georgia.gov and looking at the expenditures versus the unassigned fund balance. Back in 2020, it was at 13.9%, so you were below the 15% max. In 2025, you were at 25.4%, so you were above the maximum amount that you are allowed to put in reserve. The other thing that I would like to mention to you is to look at the budget item number 501 and 499, because I've talked to you many times about 501, which is the logistics center rent, which is the warehouse, the central warehouse. What's listed on here, the description hasn't changed, but it has increased $46,000 in 1 year. Please take a look, 501 and 499. Thank you.
You had a second thing, Susan, go ahead. What was your second one?
What
Or was
was,
that both of them?
That was both.
Okay,
501 and 499.
thank you.
Jody?
So after listening at the last meeting of your concerns about this new House bill, I went and actually talked to one of the representatives, well, 2 of the representatives that wrote that bill. He did inform me your 9 to 12 million is awful exaggerated, that it's only 6 million according to the tax assessor when he spoke with them. And he also did give me this nice sheet here of the reserves like Susan was talking about, where in your FY25 you had $99 million, and you also compared that to Gainesville and Beaufort, which yours is very extreme. Beaufort City has 11,788,000, and Gainesville has 20 million. Yours is quite extravagant. So after that, I went to my husband with this budget, and I said, okay, I would like to go through this. And he said, first of all, I'm going to tell you, you're never in a deficit if you have a reserves. Ever. Never. He said, let me give you a prime example. He said, if we do our budget, and at the end of the year, we find out we're $10,000 short, Jody. He said, and we go to 10 of our neighbors, and we tell them we're going to be $10,000 short on our budget. And all 10 of them give us $1,000, and they find out that we got $10 million sitting in a savings account that we won't move to our checking account to pay our bills. Well, we've lied to our neighbors, haven't we? So I'm speaking to the board right now. When you vote to up this millage rate and take more tax money from your neighbors, are you willing to lie to your neighbors that you don't have the money to cover that deficit? Because it would technically be a lie. And if that's what you're going to sit here and do, is lie to your neighbor, you would lie to your children, you would lie to your spouse, and you would lie to every citizen and student in Hall County. And if that's what we want to start doing is lying, well then have at it. But they're going to see it in the end when they got to pay those taxes too.
Frank?
I will not touch that thing. Ocean surface temperatures hit record high as world enters uncharted territory. There's a surprise. According to Copernicus Climate Change Service and the Copernicus Marine Service, global ocean temperatures outside the polar regions hit record levels on June 21st, surpassing levels for the time of year observed in both 2023 and 2024. The Copernicus Climate Change Service said temperatures reached greater than 69 degrees Fahrenheit that day and climbing above observed, going greater than 2023 and 2024. Oceans absorb more than 90% of the excess energy on Earth, which is primarily caused by the burning of fossil fuels, with rising temperatures painting a concerning picture of the impact of climate change. The announcements came as a dangerous heat wave looked to scorch part of the United States. More than 46 million people across the country have been under extreme heat. According to the National Weather Service, the weather warned of dangerous heat set to build across the central and eastern U.S., with highs expected to reach the mid to upper 90s and some locations exceeding 100 degrees. My truck thermometers said that the temperature outside was 94 degrees when I drove here today. Perhaps the most important requirement for school board members and administrators is to set a good example. Wow. From my perspective, you are not. Is the health insurance coverage for employees decreasing for the 26-27 budget year? I bet not. As long as climate change remains a threat, all insurance coverage will increase. Insurance prices is one way climate change risk is made visible. What follows from a book that was published in 2015, to deny what scientists know about climate change, deceive the public, and willfully obstruct any serious response to the climate catastrophe. 8 inches of rain Friday. Ooh. Is to allow entire countries and cultures to disappear. It is to rob people, starting with the poorest and most vulnerable, of their land, their hopes, their livelihoods, even their lives, their children's lives, and their children's children's lives. Who is my wise and understanding among you? By your good conduct, show your works in the meekness of wisdom.
Thank you, Frank. By the way, just for the board's edification, Derek McCollum, who sponsored the senior exemption expansion to 66, when I talked to him back during the legislative session, I said, where did you come up with your $6 million number? He said, I told the assessors. So I called the assessors, and I said, where did you come up with your $6 million number? And they said, well, they wanted a number pretty quick, so we just had to kind of look over the numbers and give it an educated guess. I said, well, I don't deal real well with educated guesses. So I said, how much exemption do we lose every year for 70 to 74-year-olds? And that figure was $9 million. People tend to become deceased as they get older. So our guess is that there are more 66 to 70-year-olds than there are 70 to 74-year-olds. And so if we're losing $9 million a year on that group, I would say the floor is going to be $9 million for 66 to 70. So that was the process that other communities had used, and so I just want you to know that that wasn't a pull out of the air number. The $9 million was very similar to what we lose with 70 to 74-year-olds.
Motion to adjourn, second. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Great job, guys. Thank you.
Suzanne? You want this back?
That's yours.